Welcome to European Railway issue number 2, the video magazine for the continental enthusiast. In this issue we take a look at the busy rail operations around the German city of Köln. A return to 1995 as we witness French diesels at work in Normandy. We take a look at endangered Austrian 1040 electrics. The Belgian main line between Gent and Brugge is in the process of enhancement. We feature passenger train activity at Landegem. The scenic delights of Switzerland as we sample rail operations on the privately operated meter gauge Rhaetian. Our hotspot feature takes us to the busy Dutch station at Lage Zwaluwe on the main line to the south of Rotterdam and Dordrecht. Finally, we look at rail operations through the town of Thionville, which is situated in the Lorraine region of northeast France, close to the border with Luxembourg and Germany. A wide variety of passenger and freight trains are seen at this popular location. We begin this second issue of European Railway with a visit to the German city of Köln. Around 12 kilometres to the north of the city centre, we see 143222 propelling a northbound commuter service into Opladen, as freight locomotive 151116 arrives fresh from overhaul at the nearby locomotive works. In the far distance, a southbound freight service can just be glimpsed on the main freight line. The town lies on 2 or 3 parallel main lines linking Köln and Düsseldorf and is situated on the east side of the River Rhine. Directly behind the main station buildings, which are seen here, is the main freight line referred to in the last scene. It is possible to observe services on these lines from the station platforms. During our visit in the early morning there was ample free parking at the station, even though it was the beginning of the rush hour. There are also a couple of through lines to the east of the station that handle a number of locomotive movements and local freight services. Class 110 electrics are common to the area and share much of the local passenger train duties with Class 111s and 143s. This view shows 110148 departing with the southbound service for Cologne. Passenger services were noted passing every 10 minutes or so. The station is a popular calling point for enthusiasts, as there is nearly always a lineup of locomotives waiting to enter or come out of the nearby works. Some freight passes through the station, although most of this is local trip workings originating from Köln's Gremberg yard. While we were here, around 5 freight trains per hour in each direction were seen on the nearby freight line, and 2 per hour through the station. We now move to the Cologne Ports station, around 7 kilometres from the city centre. Again, this station lies on the eastern side of the River Rhine and is predominantly a commuter line serving suburban centres in the southeast of the city. The main traffic through the station is freight, which uses the line linking Köln with Bonn and Koblenz to the south. In the near future, the station will also be on the route of the new direct ICE line to Frankfurt. Already, a new set of tracks has been installed, bringing with it new electronic signalling, replacing the older style semaphore type which is still prevalent in the area. The local manual signal box can be seen here tucked away at the northern end of the platform. The best time to visit this station for photography is before midday while the sun is still in the east. When we made our visit, freight services were running every 10 minutes in each direction. However, this can substantially increase depending on the time of day. Passenger services were also around every 10 minutes in each direction. This next sequence shows just how busy it can get. On the rear of this local train is 143187. By the time it takes for the stop to be completed, 2 freight trains are seen passing on the nearby running lines. The first is headed by 150107 and the other by 140454. Probably the station with the largest variety of trains passing through is Cologne Vest. The station is only served by local trains, running about every 10 minutes, such as this seen here behind 110133. Intercity services also use this line, but pass straight through as they head to and from the nearby Hauptbahnhof. (120-136) is seen passing through with an unidentified southbound intercity working. The station is situated around 1.5 kilometres from the main city centre. The surrounding area is a busy commercial centre with numerous office complexes. However, during our 70-minute visit, we found it fairly easy to park with a number of free spaces available. Most non-passenger traffic passes through the station on the through lines to the east. For this reason, the best photographic opportunities are to be had in the late afternoon and early evening when the sun swings around to the west. The tracks are also used by the biggest private railway operator in the area, the Häfen-Güterverkehr Köln AG, or the Köln Harbour and Goods Railway. Here, brand new DH44 heads a lengthy northbound freight. These HGK services are frequent along this stretch, with the company hauling around 5 million tonnes of freight per year, most of it around the port of Köln. Also seen in ever greater numbers are the new Class 644 Talent diesel multiple units. This one is working a service from Cal. Finally, it wasn't many years ago that ICEs were a rarity on these classic main lines around the city. This example is seen on a Berlin to München service. In 1995, the main line from Paris to Caen through Mezidon was being electrified, while the line running south to Vina remained diesel operated to Argentan, where it joined the non-electrified line from Paris to Granville. On a foggy Friday the 9th June 1995, 67312 and 313 head the 0605 from Argentan to Paris. At this time there were just 4 return trains per day between Paris and Granville, with most trains being hauled by pairs of Class 67-300 diesels. A spate of locomotive failures during 1992 led to a severe lack of confidence on the part of the travelling public. From then on, pairs of locomotives were used, even on short trains, in an attempt to win back customer confidence. Vina is home to one of the largest generators of rail-borne traffic in the area. Huge quarries supply much of France with crushed stone and ballast. A number of trains each day shuttle between here and the sidings at Mezidon. From there the trains are trunk hauled to Selzthal yard at Rouen. Here a pair of A1A 68,000 diesels rejoin the main line after delivering a set of empty wagons to the Quarry reception sidings. At Mezidon, 68531 and 68053 are seen arriving with a short loaded train from Vina. In the background is the main line to Paris, where the first of the new electrification masts can be seen just in front of the trees. The main line to Caen was also home to a large number of the gas turbine RTG units, which worked most of the services to and from Paris. Such is the extent of stone traffic that the area has been likened to Westbury in the United Kingdom. A pair of 68,000s are seen arriving with a long rake of empties from Selzthal yard. Just to the south of the station is a convenient road overbridge, which is ideal for observing various train movements. The line today is still very busy, particularly so on Fridays, when many extra trains are run to cope with the extra demand. Finally, 68053 and 68531 leave the sidings with the rake of German-owned wagons bound for Vina. Today, the stone traffic continues to run with around 6 loaded trains per day. The main line to Paris is now fully electrified. Services to Argentan are still diesel operated, and the whole area provides an ideal location for railway enthusiasts to observe a variety of trains and traction. The main line from Gent to Brugge is in the process of expansion to 4 tracks to cope with an increased level of traffic. Landegem, to the northwest of Gent, has been completely modernised and is where we pause to observe passenger workings. A push-pull intercity service passes with new Class 1300 electric locomotive 1339 providing rear-end power. The bridge at the northern end of the platforms takes the line over the Canal van Schiepdonk, which is busy with barge traffic. (1303) is seen heading the 1105 from Eupen to Ostend. New intercity class AM96 electric multiple units 566 and 551 head south en route to Ghent. The Class 1040s were introduced into service in 1950, and of the original 16 locomotives delivered, just 4 have been scrapped. New Class 1016 and 1116 electric locomotives are now entering service, meaning that the writing is on the wall for these venerable machines. 1040-009 departs Eisenerz in May 2001. The remaining locomotives are based at Selzthal depot and work mainly local freight traffic around the central part of the country. 1040-016 is seen coming off the shed. These locomotives weigh 80 tonnes and are only 12.9 metres long. However, with 2,360 kilowatts of power available, they can accelerate pretty smartly. One of the diagrams from Selzthal takes a member of the class to the Semmering pass route, which we featured in issue 1 of European Railway. Here, 1040-010 is seen piloting freight train number 54595 into Semmering station in May 2001. The locomotors are regularly used on local goods trains on the Selzthal, Klein-Reifling and Amstetten route. Here 1040-014 departs Weyer en route to Weidhofen. It is expected that the entire class will be withdrawn by early 2002 after a creditable 50 years service. Until then, the remaining locomotives will continue to be active. 1040-001 has been repainted into original green livery and will be retained as a museum locomotive. Situated in the mountainous and picturesque southeastern corner of Switzerland, the Rhaetische Bahn is the largest meter gauge railway network in the country. The main depot facilities are located here at Langquart, around 15 kilometres to the north of Chur. Here, driving trailer ABD 1713 arrives powered by a single-ended motor coach of class BE44. Seen leaving for the famous ski resort of Klosters is class GE44 number 642. These locomotives date from 1993. The station is also used by Swiss Federal Railway's standard gauge trains and offers excellent cross-platform connections. On both networks, the service is roughly 2 trains per hour in each direction. Freight traffic is also carried. Here, one of the company's GE24 shunters is seen with intermodal wagons. This is a new freight flow which necessitated the construction of a transfer terminal in the town. This particular locomotive dates from 1913, but was rebuilt with off-centre cabs in 1943. It was again rebuilt with auxiliary batteries before a further rebuild in 1967 when an auxiliary diesel engine was added. The scenery in the area is outstanding. This is the 2,844 metre high Pietzol mountain. The Rhaetian caters for a large number of tourists, enthusiasts and locals on special days out. Here, one of 3 retained steam locomotives departs on a Sunday morning charter to Klosters. The locomotive was built in 1906. Between Landegem and Köln, the railway runs parallel to the standard gauge SBB line and the motorway. This is the 0925 Köln to St. Moritz via Klosters service, seen heading north at Trimis. At Thusis, on the line from Köln to St. Moritz, Class GE44 number 628 arrives with the 0900 hours from St. Moritz. These locomotives are the standard type used on the Rhaetian, with half of the class dating from 1973. The remainder, including this example, were built between 1984 and 1985. The line runs through some breathtaking scenery with superb wooden buildings at many of the local country stations. On a Sunday morning, the bells of Mont Parish Church echo through the valley. In the distance is the 2,972 metre high Piz Couvert mountain. The 1000-hour service from St Moritz glides into Tiefenkassel station behind a later version of Class GE44. Around 7 kilometres from the famous resort of St Moritz lies the small town of Bever. The 1152 from Köln passes with just a few minutes to go before reaching its destination. This stretch of line is particularly busy, with up to 3 trains per hour in each direction. The terminus for many of the line's services is here at St Moritz, situated high up in the mountains at around 1774 metres above sea level. Services from the Italian town of Tirano also terminate here using the southernmost set of platforms. This is the 1130 from Tirano, formed of RHB electric railcars number 54 and 47. The section of line into Italy is known as the Bernina Bahn and features an hourly service in each direction. Most of the trains are operated by these ABE 44 rail cars. Trains to and from Köln and Schuol Tarasp arrive and depart from the northern set of platforms. Locomotive 643 runs around the 1052 arrival from Köln. The first of these 2 railcars dates from 1972. It has 4 traction motors generating 680 kilowatts of power from the 1000 volts DC overhead supply. The second railcar is of a newer design dating from 1990 and delivers 1016 kilowatts of power. The railcars reveal Lake St Moritz and the Rosach mountain standing at 3,123 metres. Situated south of Dordrecht, Lage Zwaluwe is situated on the junction of a number of busy main lines. Seen coming off the Moerdijk rail bridge is one of the many container trains which originate from the massive Rotterdam docks complex. Traction is provided by Class 1600 locomotive number 1603. When we made our visit to the area, which was on a weekday evening, there are around 3 to 4 freight trains in each direction every hour. There are also a good number of passenger services, including local trains such as this 4-car DD-AR set seen heading north. The distance between the station and the river bridge to the north is around 2 kilometres. On the west side of the line is a small access road, which allows for some excellent photographic opportunities. The road bridge from the nearby motorway junction to the town of Lage Zwaluwe is another good vantage point. Class 1600 locomotive number 1855 heads south with the 1721 Den Haag Centraal to Venlo intercity service. Most mixed wagon trains head for the main Kufhoek freight centre to the north of Dordrecht, where the trains for the Rotterdam port complex are remarshalled. Here, number 1628 heads a lengthy northbound working. These Class 1600 electrics are based on the French BB 7200s and date from between 1981 and 1983. We now move to the actual station area where diesel locomotive 6471, one of a class of 120, arrives with a short pickup freight working. This will head for one of the local freight yards. Every hour, Thalys TGV sets work services to and from Amsterdam and Paris. This is Dutch set number 4331. The Class 6400 diesels are used on freight and for shunting duties. 6429 heads this short southbound working and is passed by electric locomotive 1607. Finally, we see Belgian electric locomotive 2553 heading an Antwerpen Noord to Kifhoek mixed freight. With the station just a kilometre from junction 19 of the A59 motorway, and with a half-hourly passenger service, Lage Zwaluwe is an ideal location for the casual traveller and enthusiast alike, keen to visit busy locations away from the congestion of large towns and cities. In the Lorraine region of northeast France, close to the borders with Luxembourg and Germany, and on the junction of three main railway routes, lies the industrial town of Thionville. The line between the town and the city of Metz to the south is quadruple throughout and is one of the busiest lines in France for freight traffic. Here, a pair of BB 16500 electrics, 16518 and 16651, head this southbound steel train. In addition, there is a large amount of passenger traffic, consisting of local trains such as this, serving the numerous towns along the Metz to Thionville industrial corridor, and long-distance intercity services, serving destinations such as Brussels, Luxembourg, Koblenz, Paris and Basel. The Class BB 16500s are the main locomotive type to be seen operating in the area. Dating from 1958, nearly 300 were built, and with the majority still in service. BB 16682 departs with the 0758 service from Nancy to Luxembourg City. To the south of the long station platforms is the nearby locomotive depot. This is home to many classes and is the most significant facility in the area. As diesel CC72045 approaches, a number of different classes can be seen stabled in the background. It's surprising just how squat some of the French electric locomotives are, especially when compared to smaller diesel locomotives such as this BB 63000 seen being shunted around the depot.
Le train Jean Monnet, numéro 296, à destination de Bruxelles-Midi, va partir. Prenez garde à la fermeture automatique des portes. Attention au départ. La SNCF souhaite un agréable voyage.
Back in 1998, BP 12000 electrics were common in the area. Here, 12013 arrives with a northbound freight from Wappie Yard near Metz. The busy time for freight is through the morning until around lunchtime, and again in the late afternoon and early evening. During our visit, between 6 and 7 freights per hour were seen in each direction. The busiest days are generally Tuesdays through to Saturdays, although freight trains run regularly 7 days a week. The fact that the BB 16500s have been in service for the best part of 42 years means that their replacement is now being planned. Unless traffic levels change, withdrawal of the class is expected to begin in 2003, when the first of the 90 locomotives not fitted to prevent swaying will be taken out of service. This pair is seen on a freight bound for Luxembourg's Bettembourg yard. CC72044 is seen departing on this southbound container train, which it would have powered from Stockham Yard in Belgium. The introduction and through running of new Belgian Class 13 and the identical Luxembourg Class 3000 electrics will see the end to this type of traction in the near future. BB 26000 electrics are also common to the area, principally on freights to and from Appach on the French-German border, but also on the line to Forbach. 26040 restarts this northbound service. Most of the intercity passenger trains which pass through on the Luxembourg to Paris and Basel to Brussels services are worked by a member of the original 65-strong fleet of BB 15,000 electric locomotives. Here, 15062 departs with a sleeper service to Luxembourg City. Much of the freight traffic is connected with the steel industry. Here 16605 and 16756 amble through with one of the regular iron ore workings. Some of these trains weigh 2,400 tonnes. There are around 50 trains per week between Dunkirk and the Lorraine region alone. Finally, we see one of the Z5300 electric multiple units, number 332, arrive from the north on one of the hourly stopping services from Uppach. We thank you for watching this second edition of European Railway and hope that you have enjoyed the programme. Look out for issue 3, due for release early in the new year.